It's time for some fun. It's time for some fun. Now check out my juicy, juicy bunch. Hello all of you beautiful people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Choose Your Own Adventure, where I, the crown Jules of WhatCulture.com, take a list deigned by you, yes you lovely person that travelled 7.5 hours up to Newcastle only to find that their bathroom ceiling had collapsed thanks to an upstairs leak. Thank you very much, upstairs neighbour. Cheers for that. Yes, you get to dictate what list I dole out to you every single week. And this week we have Kingpin Gaming for their suggestion of video game characters that kind of drop the ball. Now this is the thing, we all make mistakes. I mean, just ask my parents who 33 years ago, yes I am that old, decided to lock eyes over the last bottle of gin at a house party inside whatever this is. Mistakes definitely happen. And in fact, when it comes to video game heroes, it kind of is the reason why we fall head over heels in love with them. I mean, it's their struggles against the big bads and greater evils of the land that makes it so satisfying when they finally overcome them. That being said though, they can definitely be made to look like a bit of a pack of idiots when they absolutely stumble in a cutscene or you forcefully drop them off the edge of a cliff or something. So let's take a look at some characters that totally drop the ball. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video game characters that completely drop the ball. It's almost like I said the title before saying the title. Fantastic, Jules. That's good scripting right there. Anyway, you know the drill by now. Leave your suggestions for next week's video down in the comment section below and say hello to me here in the live chat. Somebody pointed out to me last week that if I just point directly at my table lamp here, that's pretty much where the live chat is. Thank you. Can you hear my cat outside? Beef, what do you want, mate? I fed you twice. Anyway, let's crack on. Number 8, CHELL, Portal 2. Now, for the most part, the silent protagonist of Portal does everything right. Well, eventually anyways, after you've fallen off nearly every ledge possible. I mean, she manages to overcome every strange, confusing puzzle and take down every trap that the super sassy AI GLaDOS has thrown at her. And yet that's what makes her decision to trust Wheatley all the more confusing. I know that he is voiced by Stephen Merchant, who is the literal definition of a lovable scamp, but still, after all of her experiences with AI in this game, you'd have thought that maybe she wouldn't have been so trusting. I mean, every single computer or even toaster that she's met so far has tried to kill her at least once. And wouldn't you know it, not 2 minutes into his new role as AI of the facility, Wheatley loses his damn mind. Plus, let's face it, if she's armed with a portal gun, she probably would have found a way out eventually, meaning that she likely never even needed to trust him. All that she needed was some faith in our Lord, Slime Jesus. Yes, my saviour, my Lord. I totally have faith in you, and I know that you will guide me through the difficult part of my mid-30s. You will see me through to the other side. Thanks a bunch. Also, I'm 32, by the way. I only realised that after I started recording the intro. I'm so old, I'm forgetting how old I am. Fantastic. Anyway, Slime Jesus, he's the world's companion cube. Moving on. Number 7, SASHA 9 and Mia VODELLO, Psychonauts. So I'm pretty sure if we were all offered the opportunity to go to a camp at summer, a summer camp, if you will, for psychic children, then we'd have the most fun possible, right? Well, imagine taking all of that fun, all of those midnight strolls down to the lake and using pyrokinesis on bits of wood, and flip it a bit, and now pretend that you are one of the camp counselors, because that sounds like my idea of a living hell. It would be just like, no, please put the park bench down, stop moving it with your mind, no, don't set it on fire, don't throw it at a bear, they're endangered. Don't set the bear on fire, you've set the bear on fire. It's lucky, therefore, that SASHA 9 and Ms. VODELLO are really actually quite good with kids, offering kindness and support to the prospective psychic agents. That being said, though, they both totally dropped the ball trusting any of the children with Coach Oleander, who isn't just a psychopath but also ends up being in league with the main evil of the narrative. Now, maybe you could have got the smallest inkling that maybe he shouldn't have been trusted when you noticed that his mind is a literal war-torn hellscape. And even more so when you stumble across his secret weapon room, but the other counselors, well, they're none the wiser. This is a case where you don't even need to be able to read minds to be able to see that he's not to be trusted, you just need to read the bloody room. Number 6, Josh, Until Dawn. Now, to give credit where credit is due, Josh really does pull off one of the most elaborate and quite effective pranks ever seen in not just video games, but in all of new media history. I mean, he's even able to fake being cut in half. I'm at the level of magic proficiency where, like, this is a good trick for me. Like, look, I've got a thumb.
What is this stupid prick doing?
Oh, I'm twisting it off. Oh, wait, oh.
Wait, what?
Magic hands, that's what they call me. Anyway, while he carries out his wacky schemes to punish his friends for an earlier prank that they'd carried out which had accidentally led to his sister's disappearances, something perhaps more important is discovered. Hannah and Beth, his sisters, didn't actually die out in the wilderness, they actually became Wendigos. So not only is Josh's great plan to traumatize his friends to try and get over his own trauma, but he also manages to bring his mates to the one area where it's very likely that everyone, including himself, will die thanks to these beasts. Now, to be fair, he couldn't have actually seen the last part of this coming, but come on, mate, have you ever heard of group therapy? Just talk it out. We could have got somewhere together, but no, now you're here, along with everyone else, dead. Number 5, Damon Gant, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Now, Damon Gant is a very, 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 very smart man, but my lord does he make some absolutely dumb decisions. After pursuing and capturing wanted killer Joe Dark, Gant worried that the evidence gathered was still not enough to convict this dangerous man, and that he would ultimately go free. So, when Dark broke out of interrogation and knocked Gant's colleagues unconscious, while actually accidentally also knocking himself unconscious, Damon saw a gruesome opportunity. He killed the young prosecutor Neil Marshall and staged the scene so it would appear as though Joe had killed him in their scuffle. Are you keeping up? Good, 'cause I'm not. But not content with simply doing that, Gant then concocted an elaborate scheme that consisted of framing another prosecutor's sister, Lana Skye, in order to get said prosecutor to assist him. He then killed another of the detectives involved in the case, thus creating a whole other crazy plan to make that murder look as though Lana Skye had done that. Yeah, I'm completely lost. Now this is the problem. As you can imagine, all of these wacky and nefarious schemes that Damon has come up with, well, they all come crumbling down the moment that somebody actually starts looking into them. You see, the problem is, mate, you've got too many loose ends. You've been trying to think about this too much. All you got to do is take them down to the Newcastle quayside, buy them a bottle of Newcastle Brown, and just watch, because that stuff is absolute pig swill and will likely kill them therein. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Not that I've ever done that. Not that I've ever done that. And no one go looking down the quayside. Please don't. Number 4, Dr. KRIEGER, Far Cry Instincts. Now, a general rule of thumb is that you are only as smart as your dumbest decision. And trust me, from personal experience, I've made a lot of them. You can have walls and walls of certificates and diplomas, but they're not that useful if you can't even open a can of beans. And trust me, this is actually an important lesson to keep in mind, because being humbled by your mistakes will prevent you from becoming one of those individuals that thinks that they're better than everyone else. And trust me, everyone hates that kind of person. It's something that I bet that Dr. KRIEGER kept in mind as well, because in Far Cry Instincts, he makes an absolute clanger of a decision that sees him meet his maker. Now, the good doctor might have been smart enough to manufacture a human-animal hybrid that was tipped to be the next super soldier, but when he informs his new bodyguards that you've just killed Crow, their former commander, he doesn't seem to take into account the laws of the jungle. That being that as you killed their boss, you are now their leader and not their dinner. And so, with a simple order, they turn and kill KRIEGER, making his PhD stand for Pretty Horrible Decision. Number 3, GWYN, Lord of Cinder, Dark Souls. So when you play through the Dark Souls series for the first time, you might assume that the Age of Fire is actually the good thing, the thing that we're actually trying to protect, because after all, when you look around, I mean, it's not exactly the most pleasant of places, but the architecture, the civilization, it's there, and that's what we're trying to protect. But as you go on, you start to realize that maybe things aren't exactly what they seem, that instead of the Shadow or Age of Dark being the thing that we should fear, maybe it's the thing that we should instead be embracing. Well, GWYN, Well, he didn't exactly get the message on this one. Because as it turns out, in the Dark Souls 3 DLC Ringed City, the impending Age of Dark that many of us tried to fight against isn't actually supposed to be an evil concept. The real evil is GWYN, who has severed the natural order, prolonging the Age of Fire, which in turn made the Age of Dark monstrous through his manipulation. Had he accepted the concept of change, Dark Souls might not have been the gloom and doom fest that we know it to be, as it wouldn't be a world filled with ghouls and more a world filled with, well, jewels, just regular people. And yes, I do consider a coconut-headed, big, wet-eyed British man to be a normal human being, despite what YouTube comments will tell me. And the thing is that accepting change is a pretty essential skill, and this game really hammers home the issues with resisting it. So GWYN is basically the ultimate Facebook boomer. Way to keep it topical there, Jules. Moving on. Number 2, FANG RAY-SHIN, Detention. Throughout these spooky happenings of Detention, meeting Fan RAY-SHIN is pretty much the only solace you're gonna get. After all, when everyone else is dead, finding a single soul survivor, well, that's gonna be your only comfort. But things aren't exactly all that they appear, because Ray hides a dark secret within her. And it turns out to be an absolute doozy. Now, it's worth prefacing this by saying that the game is set in 1960 Taiwan, a time in which you could and would be arrested for any form of opposition to the government or perceived opposition. As such, when Ray discovers the counselor who helped her through her troubled home life and began a relationship with her has moved on to be with fellow staff member Miss Lin, she seeks revenge. And since Miss Lin has a secret book class where she teaches students about books that have been deemed forbidden, telling officials of this leads to Lin, all of her students, and the counselor being jailed or executed. And the real kicker to all of this? Well, it turns out that Miss Lin and the counselor, well, they weren't even together at all. So that means that Ray basically got everyone killed for no reason. Cheers. And number 1, Benny, Fallout New Vegas. Here we are again, and I get to talk about one of my favorite video games, and say it with me, kids, of all time. Bit sensual, that one. Don't know why. But anyway, we're talking about Fallout New Vegas, which I adore being able to talk about because of the fact I get to remind Bethesda, who clearly obviously watched this format, that they didn't create this game. Sucks to be you, friend, doesn't it? Anyway, let's talk about Benny. So Benny, all things considered, is a bit of a dick. I mean, he shoots a courier in the head for no reason other than to get back a chip. I would have given it to you if you just asked kindly, mate. It means nothing to me. But still, it does mean that if this is the opening of the game, then it likely is going to happen that you're going to confront him and repay the favor later on. But you get an especially interesting chance to kill him though if you have the Black Widow perk, which allows you to do 10% extra damage against male enemies and also unlocks some extra saucy dialogue options. And one of these options is the chance to flirt and then proposition Benny, the same Benny who shot you in the head and left you for dead and just so happens to be voiced by Chandler Bing. I mean, the question really then arises, do you want to sleep with a Chandler Bing that tried to kill you, a Bing that tried to bin you off? Well, yeah, when you put it like that, a sarcastic orgasm actually does sound pretty good. Yeah, sign me up. However, once Bing gets banged, you'll then be able to kill him afterwards, turning a normally terrible decision by the player into a terrible decision by Benny. So it seems here that the saying is, keep your enemies close, and the people that shot you in the head and then left you for dead and then you met up with and tried to bang, even closer. Poor old Benny. Guess you could say he didn't see it coming. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 video game characters that completely dropped the ball. I know you're probably saying, oh, Jules, in 2 weeks and there's no musical interlude. I just want to make sure that James is well and back on his feet again because, it's only fun when all 3 of us are working together. So, James, I'm sure you're splicing in some footage now. Are you well? Are you okay? Okay, is he dead or not? I can't tell. I'm looking at a wall at the moment. To be fair, it's probably about the same as just talking to him in real life. Anyway, hope you're well. So moving on, it will be coming back further down the line. But anyway, leave your suggestions for next week's episode down in the comments section below. And if you want to catch up with me further, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice as my personal gaming channel where I stream every single Wednesday and Sunday. But you know what, my friends? Before I go, I just want to say one thing. We detailed today a lot about video game characters that drop the ball, and as I said in the opening, we all make mistakes sometimes. Please do not punish yourself too much for the mistakes that you've made in the past. We all make them. It happens sometimes. And if people have wronged you, if they have made mistakes, look inside yourself and see if you have the capacity to forgive them. Because building bridges instead of burning them is so much better in the long run. You isolate yourself by telling people that you won't forgive them for their mistakes. And if you isolate yourselves from others for fear of making mistakes again, then you're not actually putting yourself into an arena to test out to see if you have the mettle and resolve to be a better person. Mistakes allow you to learn something. They give you perspective. They give you the option to look at bad things that have happened to you or you have done and say, that is not going to happen again. How can I make sure that will not happen again? And they will shape you into a better person. But you have to be honest with yourself and you have to accept that you made them. Don't try and deny them and push them away because you won't learn anything. You'll just distance the people who might actually care about you in the long run. So just forgive yourself, move on, and try your best to work well with others. Big love from me to you, okay? As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. And I'll speak to you soon, all right? Peace out.